in to follow. Had loyalty, every man tried to borrow. Felt pain and a lot of sorrow. Got betrayed, so packed, I didn't even have my heart broke. Living confused, about to lose hope. Cops got me on the side of the road like a sideshow. Need an antidote before I croak. Now I'm setting fire to rhythm man blues. Call this guitar smoke. Rebel with no cause, trying to find direction. The world got me vexed. Picked up a bad liquor habit that's hereditary from oppression. Felt like my life was on fire, trying to find an exit. Now look, 10 G's plus a good record. Sometimes a follower is a soldier, trying to find a good shepherd. Plus when you in hell, how do you excel? Wisdom the breath of life, I don't believe in fairy tale. Listen well to what I tell. No calling can cause pain. Something that a rebel knows very well. Can't you tell I was sent from the Lord? Got a tongue like a two-edged sword, with a style that they might just record. The only thing equal is the curse for the wicked and the righteous reward. Have mercy on the many, don't see it. Separated from the tares, now on my prayers, and it's so be it. A rebel, take the world by word of mouth. UPK, we the rebels that you heard about. Yeah. And it ain't gonna stop till 100 virgins in the house and I'm handing verdicts out. Get rank, you ain't heard a clout without a shadow of a doubt. These devils hitting licks off us. Fuck the bank, I'm about to stone the pocket ticket office. Can't sweet talk us, cannot stop us. And plus I know the feds watch us. Telling people that they church full of witch doctors. Put us in prison, they stockpile us. Meanwhile, UPK turning rebels into rock wallers. In league with mighty men, and now I understand things that never truly made sense. Like why I'm crying at this funeral for a criminal, knowing he ain't innocent, it's fucked up. But my boots shine, standing between two priests, about to blaze on their ass, call it tough love. Look out for niggas just cuz, and wouldn't touch a white bitch with OJ's black gloves. Father, forgive me for my error. I'm forever by your side, clean and purge me of all my flaws. This the reason I'm alive. Thank God for this truth, cause for a long time was a rebel without a cause.
Look, man, first time I met Commander Junior Hunter, man, hit 3807.
Rebel without a
I had
cause.
my little daughter with me. Opened the door, he was dropping the truth for me and all that.
Rebel
He said,
without a
yeah,
cause.
man, you know, you do your time. We take in the mountains, training in hand-to-hand combat.
Rebel without
I said,
a
oh,
cause.
yeah.
This the reason I'm
Shine me
alive.
up,
Thank
nigga.
God for this truth, cause for a long time was a rebel without a cause.
And you cannot whoop us. We're already dead. We're already beaten down. We've been beaten down for 400 years. We already got the wounds inside and outside our bodies. How you gonna hurt us? You cannot threaten us. You cannot frighten us. We live in the most frightening places, under the most frightening conditions. We are immune to fear. We are immune to harm. You see what I'm saying? You have stepped into a cesspool. You're the only one gonna get infected.
All right, this is Rooted Speech, man. We got Captain. Yeah, you know what it is. 140 for the rebel, busy man, shit, nigga. They take their head over, nigga.
I pray where Eve did to Adam, I just pray my love don't lie to me. Swing the iron like Samson, I can't let no holder lie to me. I don't feel these rappers, oh they lies is hypocrisy. Ain't no competition, ain't no rivalry. Niggas think I'm playing, I don't hear one word they saying, this shit light work. Think Muhammad one of us, he might lose his life first. Suckle up and stay alert, another cop just stretch the nigga. He a demon, it's an exorcism, watch I bless the nigga. You took that oath in blood, then you know I'm gon' get active with with you. Fuck the opposition, I see vision. Let me paint the picture. Rappers can they spit and I ain't listening. Is in fact the If revenge was a woman, now I scope that bitch like Jacob. So time war, we gon' run the summer. It's gon' be historical. Thought they making plays, made them niggas call the audible. Ask who run this shit, but that question is rhetorical. Bitch, I'm the one, me cookies with the oil. I'ma get him crackers, hell, should've never kidnapped my family. I came to do that. Bet I be the last nigga standing. Do a life sentence for my niggas, pray you understand me. I might put a switch on this Glock and call it young baby. How you real triggering on them dots? You a bird feeder, claiming he a demon. What's a demon to a cold leader? What he saying something, I ain't hear him. This shit like it ain't about who got the gun, it's about who gon' up that pipe first. I turn a bad situation to a game change. Bring soldiers from the dead, just raised up the chain. Free shots, I'ma look like Aaron Jones when I run it. Never bite the hand that feeds you, you'll never get that hand back. He bitchin' about 10%, I don't wanna hear none of that. He dropping sword, fuck him, just make sure you get that cover back. Look around, he ain't with us, probably cause he never was. Now my chin like you with the angels for your brothers. Everybody wanna be Richard Porter, God kill him like Alpo. Play if he want, it's laying in the trunk like Lee Malvo. I'm a certified woman's ass nigga, I am not a toy. Hey, out with that hollow side, yeah, this the real McCoy. Feel like Gullah Jack when I'm in Fayetteville, you feel your boy. Still about my bread, still I think that's all that I do. The way I get that boy lost, they gon' start to call him Elroy. Fuck his game, pop out on them demons like I'm Hellboy.
Shalom, Israel, with the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Start out at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commanding General Yahana. This is a Tuesday night Brotherhood class. Go ahead, clap it up. You know what I'm saying? Since 1969, the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge has been showing blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans true brotherhood. You know what I mean? Under the Most High God, man. Under the Most High's authority, under Christ, man. Right? And since 1969, we've been the only ones showing real brotherhood, and teaching the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans their true identity according to the Bible, man. Not sugarcoating nothing, man. Giving our brothers and sisters exactly what they need to know so that we can survive in this hell, man. Because we are absolutely in hell. I mean, I know your Christian pastors and your Christian pastors and these Christian Israelite groups and these, you know what I mean, your Muslim mosque and all these other denominations of which is all really Christianity at the end of the day, which we are not. You know what I mean? In the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, we are not Christians, but at the end of the day, all these different denominations of Christianity who pretend to know the true, you know what I mean, the truth according to blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, you know what I mean, they've been teaching you lies, and they don't know, they don't know what the hell, you know what I mean, to how to get blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans out of hell, man. But since 1969, we've been teaching blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans the truth, man. And that's real brotherhood. Everything to Wapri? We good? Okay, most on Christ. Well, we've been actually teaching the truth according to, you know what I'm saying, the truth according to the Most High, man, since 1969, man. That's what this brotherhood class is every Tuesday from 7 to 9 is all about. It's about teaching blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans real brotherhood. What real brotherhood is and what real brotherhood is not. And that's exactly what this class is all about tonight, man. We're going to teach you what real brotherhood is and what real brotherhood is not. Right? And it's so important to understand what real brotherhood is so that we can know where to go as blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Like everywhere we go, everywhere we turn, everywhere we look right now, you know what I mean, we got like you know what I mean, like we always say, like we see evident, you know what I'm saying, around us, we see, you know what I'm saying, our grandparents raised us up to be, you know what I mean, in a Christian church. We go into Christian church every Sunday. We wake up early, you know what I mean. We hate it. And then, you know what I mean, we do that for so many years, and then we try to go accustomed to being in a Christian church. Your grandmother, you know what I mean, pinching you in the arm when you dozing off, when you just a little kid. You know what I mean? And you think that you're doing something wrong if you know what I'm saying, hate going to that Christian church. You think you're doing something wrong when you hate being in that environment, when you don't want to get up and act a fool and stomp around and dance and clap your hands like everybody else. You think there's something wrong with you, and you feel like, because that's what we've been taught, you feel like that's what we got to do to, you know what I'm saying, be a decent person in life, right? So a lot of us go into the Christian church and we try to put on that persona, and then after you give your whole life, you bleed, you die, you know what I'm saying, you sacrifice your money and your time and your efforts, all, you know what I'm saying, to the Christian church, and then you find out the whole time the Christian pastor is sleeping with your father's wife. You find out that your Christian pastor is abusing children in the Christian church. You find out that your Christian pastor is stealing from the church, where you done gave your last little amount of money to the Christian church, and now you sitting in the dark eating sardines out of a can, eating cold ravioli. Whole time your Christian pastor is stealing money, stealing resources from the church so that he can drive his new Benz, so he could pull up and look glorious in his new Mercedes. So what do? You want to throw away the whole Bible, and then you go into the Muslim culture, right? You go into the Muslim religion, and then you find out that they just as wicked as your Christian pastor. You go into all these other denominations. You go into these other religions, go into being we being Buddhist, we being Hindu, we being all these different things, and find out that they are just as wicked as your Christian pastor. When the truth the whole time was in the Bible, but the problem is that you weren't being taught the truth. That was the real problem. And that is no brotherhood, man. That is no brotherhood. So what we're going to do tonight is teach you how to identify who is showing you real brotherhood by teaching you these laws, statutes, and commandments, teaching you the truth according to the Bible, and teaching you how to get out of this hell. And we're going to distinguish between them and who is teaching you lies, and who is keeping you docile, and who is keeping you in hell. All right? Go ahead, Baba Kashai, let me get Luke chapter 6, verse 44. Because what we got to understand is, by your Christian pastor, by your Muslim mosque, by all these denominations and all these religions, by your, you know what I mean, your mother, your single mother teaching you that you're spiritual, you know what I mean, and you don't need the Most High. They're leading you into slaughter, because the reason why we are in hell in the first place is because we turned away from the Most High. Right? But the whole point is that the things that we were taught that led us away from the Most High, that led us away from these scriptures, our history, the Holy Bible, which means separate records, the things that led us away from these scriptures weren't the truth at all. And we're gonna get into it. We're gonna get into these. We're gonna get into the scriptures and teach what the Bible really says. And that's how you're gonna distinguish between who's telling you the truth and who's telling you lies. Because I guarantee anything that comes to the top of your head that you think represents the Bible or represents the Most High or comes out of the Bible, you know what I mean? I know blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, you just got quotes in your head that, you know what I'm saying, God loves everybody, and God loves the sinner but hates the sin, right? You got these little quotes memorized in your head that was poured into you as a child, where you just think it come out the Bible. When we gonna get into today that those things are absolutely not true, and people who are teaching you those things are not teaching you the truth. But this is the first thing that you're gonna need to know. Baba Kashai, you mind bringing that out?
This is the book of Luke, chapter 6, verse 44. For every tree is known by its own fruit. For of thorns men do not gather figs, nor of a bramble bush gather they roots.
And that's so heavy, that's so heavy because you don't have to. Slocky, 1 second. Let me get there with you. See, when you look at a tree, you don't have to. You don't have to try and guess. You know what I mean? You don't look at it. You don't plant an apple seed into the ground and then say, "Oh, I hope I get apples from this apple seed."
Right.
No, you plant an apple seed, right? You plant an apple seed, and you plant an apple seed, and then you know what you're gonna get. You plant an apple seed, and you know you're gonna get apples. You plant an orange seed, and then you know you're gonna get oranges. Whatever seed, whatever you put in the ground, you know eventually you're gonna get that out of the ground. You're gonna reap that, right? And that's something very simple to understand, right? So that's why, Baba, should I read that again? Read verse 43, Baba Kashad.
This is the book of Luke chapter 6, verse 43. For a good tree bringeth not forth corrupt fruit, neither do a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit.
Right. So that's the first thing you need to know. You need to know that whatever tree, whatever fruit that you see coming from that tree, it's because of the tree. It's what comes from that tree. And something evil is not going to come from a good tree, and something good is not going to come from an evil tree. Go ahead, read verse 44, Baba Kashad.
So, verse 44. For every tree is known by his own fruit.
Every tree is known for its own fruit. Again, you're not going to look at a apple tree and then wonder, you know what I'm saying, one day is an orange going to grow from this apple tree.
Right.
You're not going to wonder, that sounds ridiculous to you. Even me saying that sounds ridiculous to you. But when it comes to the Most High, when it comes to the truth of the Most High, and where the truth is, and where the priests and prophets of the Most High are, and where they're not, we seem to be confused. But it's just like, you know what I mean, just like always, when the Most High is trying to explain something very, very complicated, he uses something very simple. His priests and prophets has always used something very simple to describe something very difficult to understand. So if you don't understand where the priests and prophets are and where the truth for the Most High actually is and who's teaching you, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, the truth according to the Bible, and who is teaching you lies, just think trees. You know what I mean? Just who's producing good fruit, who's producing people who feed the poor, who feed the homeless, who clothe the homeless, who teach blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans the truth, who, you know what I mean, who are housing and saving lives, you know what I mean, getting brothers off the street where we were once eating out of trash cans, and now we're a mighty priests and prophets who are doing the work of the Lord. And if you don't know the difference between that and, you know what I mean, what's it like? Yeah, read the rest of verse 44, Baba Kashad.
For of thorns men do not gather figs, nor of a bramble bush gather they roots.
See, that's the thing that we need to understand. We need to see the fruit for what it is. We need to see the tree for what it is. We need to see the tree for the fruit that it produces. Right. Like we sitting there looking at the Christian church, you know what I mean, and trying to call, you know what I'm saying, we trying to look at them because for so many years your grandmother, your mother has funneled you into the Christian church blindly and taught you that that's the way to go, right? And then when you find out, just like they found out in Georgia so many years ago, well, not so many years ago, that Eddie Long was doing all the things that he was doing to all them little children up in there. He was doing those abominable things, those wicked things to those children. You find out that your Christian pastor is sleeping with the whole congregation of women, you know what I'm saying, sleeping with brothers' wives and all of that, you know what I mean, abusing children. You know what I mean? We try to cover it up and say, oh, well, we all fall short. And that's a man of God. Don't say that about him. When in reality, you know what I mean, we just gotta see the fruit see the tree for the fruit that it produces. Right. And that's how you find out who's really of the Lord and who's not. You know what I mean? So how many times do we got to look at the Christian church and find out that they're abusing your children before we get out of there? And how many times do we got to see, you know what I mean, your Muslim mosque or unaliving your brothers and sisters at alarming rates, robbing your brothers and sisters at alarming rates, producing criminals at alarming rates before we get out of that congregation? How long do we got to see our these other nations surround us and feed off of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans' poverty and not put a dime, not put a crumb back into our communities before we realize that these nations have nothing to do with us, or that they don't love us? But on the flip side, you know what I mean, all the priests and prophets in the ISUPK got to do is get on the street corner and tell you something that you don't want to hear. All they got to do is tell you to put down that blunt that they use to oppress you. Put down that crack pipe that they use to oppress you. Put down that, you know what I mean, that meth. Put down that fentanyl. Put down them opioids that they use to oppress you, black man, Hispanic man, and Native American man. All we got to do in the ISUPK is tell you something that's less than comfortable to hear, and well, we deemed as a hate group, just like that. It's a famous quote from Commanding General Yohana. It's a famous speaking from Commanding General Yohana where he's speaking on the corner, and all he's saying is exactly what I just said. He's telling a brother that he's not gonna allow nobody to sell his brothers, his black, Hispanic, and Native American brothers and sisters drugs. And he's trying to express to this brother or this congregation how important and how valuable it is to be black, Hispanic, and Native American. And as soon as he starts to make his point, as soon as he starts to say that we shouldn't do your oppressor's drugs and we shouldn't do the things that your oppressor does, as soon as he starts to make that point that black, Hispanics, and Native Americans are chosen by the Most High, the crowd just goes wild and they start screaming over him and start talking over him and trying to yell over him, and you just hear the anger and the how furious the crowd gets. And that's not the first time that happened, man. You know what I'm saying? It's several accounts in the scriptures where Christ had to flee the city because the congregation was trying to murder him for doing the exact same thing, for teaching the value that's in black, Hispanic, and Native American culture, that we should love one another and separate from our oppressors. And there's crowds of people trying to run him out of the city for calling out the crimes of our oppressor and telling our brothers and sisters that we should separate from them who commit those crimes. Stephen in the scriptures was murdered. He was stoned to death for teaching the truth to blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Right. So our brothers and sisters, you know what I mean, we don't lack the zeal to, you know what I'm saying, take action against, you know what I'm saying, what we deem to be wicked, but we don't understand what is true and what is not. We don't understand, we don't understand real brotherhood when we see it. And we don't know the difference between real brotherhood and hate speech. Because, you know what I mean, your Christian pastor will teach you that, you know what I'm saying, God loves everybody, even your oppressor who beat your back in and stole your land, stole your children, stole your wife, stole your husband, and abused them. He'll tell you that God loves everybody and that you should love them too. Meanwhile, we tell you that we want justice for the crimes that was committed against blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. We're quickly deemed as a hate group. But that just goes to show that we don't know where to look for real brotherhood, man. And that's why we constantly have our hands out in the wrong places. We have our hands out to people who seek to take from us, who seek to murder or seek to abuse us, who seek to unalive us, who seek to take advantage of us. And as long as we're constantly looking for them, then we're constantly gonna, you know what I mean, we're gonna constantly continue to suffer the hell and the punishment that we continue to suffer in, and we're constantly gonna overlook the priests and prophets who mean to save us, who mean to give us the blueprint to get out of this hell, man. That's the whole point, man. Baba Kashar, let me get Isaiah chapter 30, verse 10. And again, all we want is, you know what I mean, all it takes is for, you know what I mean, your oppressor can shoot you down in the streets, and we continue to, you know what I mean, try to vote. We go into our oppressor's government system and think that we could change it from within, right? We try to join the police force, even though your police force is trained to act more violently toward blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans versus all these other nations. And you can see it, you know what I'm saying? You ain't got to take my word for it, but just look at the stats. Look at how many blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are being unalived in the streets. When they, you know what I'm saying, all we have to do is raise our voices a little bit. Meanwhile, you know what I mean, your oppressor can charge the police force and your military with knives and guns and weapons, right? And then they still somehow find a way to subdue them without murder or without unaliving them, without taking their life, without that person losing their life. So your police force is obviously trained to act more violently toward blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans than they do these other nations. But for some reason, we feel the need that the answer is voting. The answer is going into the police force and becoming better police, as if you're not going to become just like the police before you, like they train you to. Right? If you don't follow your training at your slavery or at your job, right, you get fired. They get you up out of there. They don't care about how good your heart is or how much you mean well. They're gonna get you up out of there if you're not following the training that they gave you. All right. So what makes it different between what makes it different when you're talking about a police officer or someone in the military or somebody a part of a government official? What makes that different? There's no difference. All right. But all it takes is for, you know what I'm saying, the priests and prophets and the Isupk is for us to say something just a little bit uncomfortable, something that you don't necessarily understand or agree with, and it's an immediate uproar. And this is the reason why. We're going to get it right now. Baba Kashai, go ahead and read that.
This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 30, verse 10. Which say to the seers, see not.
It's like you might going up one verse.
Verse 9. That this is a rebellious people, lying children that will not hear the law of the Lord.
So this is describing blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, because the priests and prophets were only sent to black, Hispanic, and Native Americans. The priests and prophets, just like it says in what is it, Proverbs 149? What is it, Proverbs song? But the Most High was only sent to blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, and the Most High doesn't deal with any other nation.
Right.
He only showed his statutes and his judgments to blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans,
Right.
and his laws to blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. He only sent his priests and prophets to blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Christ said that he was only sent to the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
Right.
In Matthew chapter 1, it says that Christ was sent to save his people. So the priests and prophets were always only sent to blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. And this is describing blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans right here, who these priests and prophets were sent to in this time. Go ahead and read verse 9 again, Bob Shah.
You said verse 10?
Verse 9.
Oh, okay. Verse 9. That this is a rebellious people, lying children that will not hear the law of the Lord.
See, this is why we don't understand the difference between the priests and prophets of the Lord and a snake.
Right.
Who means to destroy you, who means to kill you, who means to lead you, who means to lead you away from the Most High so that we can continue to suffer these curses and serve under our oppressor. When the Most High told us that we were supposed to rule over these other nations. That's the whole point. But this is the difference. Our people are rebellious, man, and we don't want to hear the law of the Most High. All right, go ahead, read verse 10, Baba Kashai.
Verse 10. Which say to the seers, see not, and to the prophets, prophesy not unto us right things.
So this is what we were asking of the prophets. They were saying to the seers, read that again, Baba Kashan.
Which say to the seers, see not.
So these are the prophets, the people who interpret, who are able to give you counsel, who are able to give you guidance and foresee certain things because of wisdom that was given to them by the Most High. And they're saying to the seers, see not, right? See not. And go ahead, read on.
And to the prophets, prophesies not unto us right things.
So the teachers, the priests and prophets who the Most High appointed to teach blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans the right way to go. You know what I mean? How to follow these laws, statutes, and commandments. How to avoid, you know what I'm saying? How to avoid these curses that we live under. So you don't have to, you know what I mean, wonder whether your father is coming back. You know what I'm saying? With worry that he's going to be unalived by, you know what I'm saying, whatever's out there, whether his own brother or an oppressor or the police force or in the military or, you know what I mean, whether he's just going to come back, whether he's going to choose to come back to his family or choose to leave his family because his wife is a dragon or whatever the case is, because he's so oppressed that he's made to feel like he's inadequate as a man, so he leaves the family. Right. Or he wasn't raised by a father who taught him how to raise a family, or you know what I'm saying, all of those factors, man. You have to wonder whether your father's even gonna come back, or whether you're gonna see him on the news, or whether you're gonna see him in a box, or whether you're gonna have to visit him through a glass door in prison, right? Those are the curses that we live under, man. And the priests and prophets teach you how you don't have to suffer those punishments, how you don't have to suffer those curses if only we follow these laws, statutes, and commandments. Right. That's real brotherhood right there. When a priest and prophet gives up his time and his life, he lays down his life, you know what I mean? He sacrifices his family and his livelihood and his leisure to lay his life down and potentially die or potentially lose his life for you. You know what I'm saying? To teach you, to learn how to be a servant to you, to teach blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans how to evade these curses. You know what I'm saying? That's real brotherhood. But when these brothers show real brotherhood to you, you know what I'm saying? Baba Chai, go ahead, read verse 10 again.
Which say to the seers, see not, and to the prophets, prophesies not unto us right things.
So when these brothers and sisters lay down their lives, man, to bring the kingdom of heaven so that we can, you know what I'm saying, get out from up under our oppressor. When these brothers lay down their lives to teach blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans their true identity and culture so that we can get out of hell, instead of receiving that understanding and knowledge and following in the same footsteps, we tell, you know what I'm saying, we tell these priests and prophets on the street corner, go home, get a job. We tell these priests and prophets, pack it up. We argue with our husbands who try to teach us the right way to go. We argue with our brothers who try to teach us the right way to go. We argue, you know what I mean, we argue with these priests and prophets. We argue with the men above us who try to teach us the proper way to go so that we don't have to suffer the same curses over and over and over again. We say don't teach us, don't tell us that. You know what I mean? Don't tell us that we gotta follow the law. Don't tell us that we gotta keep the law, that we gotta love one another, that we gotta separate from these other nations. Tell us smooth things. Right. Go ahead, read on.
Speak unto us smooth things. Prophesies deceits.
Prophesy what?
Deceits.
That's so heavy because obviously they know that these are lies. They're asking for the lie. Just like we know that we know that Christ is a black man, yet your Christian pastor, every Christian church has a big old portrait of Caucasian Jesus on a wall. You know that that's a lie, but you go up in there and pay all that money. You pay double and triple tithes to that Christian pastor because they tell you that you covered in the blood and that you already saved. And that the Most High loves the sinner but hates the sin. and that the law is done, and that we all fall short. He don't teach you to be ye therefore perfect like Christ taught. He teaches you that nobody could be perfect and everybody falls short. That's what your Christian pastor teaches you. And even though you know that's a lie, even though you know that just like everything that the Christian church teaches you, just like you know that the Easter bunny don't lay on damn eggs, just like you know that Christmas ain't got nothing to do with Christ, just like you know that Thanksgiving, which is coming right around the corner, has nothing to do with blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, that Native Americans were murdered or were being unalived and they were being destroyed in that time during the first Thanksgiving, where they were having their land stolen from. Even though you know those things, we still celebrate those things. We still keep Thanksgiving. We still go to that Christian church. We still celebrate Easter and all these other pagan holidays, even though we know that those are lies. Even though your Christian pastor, your Christian church has that giant portrait of white Jesus on the wall, you still go up in there in that Christian church knowing that those are lies, man. We ask for the lie, knowing that it's a lie. But when Commandant General Yohana says that the Most High only loves you, and because of that, your blackness means something. That he ain't gonna let nobody sell you drugs because you're a black man and it means something. Because he tells you that causes an uproar. We got it all backwards, man. Well, we asking for the lie, man. And because we keep on asking for the lie, we're gonna constantly be subjected to being lied to, man. So you can't be mad. We can't be mad when we constantly choose the lie and then somebody comes along with another lie for us to accept. We can't be mad at that if we're gonna constantly choose the lie.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's just, I mean, what we gotta do, the only remedy for that is for us to choose something different, man. And that's what we came to teach you today, man. You know what I'm saying? So if your Christian pastor is lying to you, if your Muslim imams in a Muslim mosque is teaching you lies, and all these other nations around you want to teach you lies, right? What do you choose, man? What do you choose? Baba Kasha, Salaki. 1 second. What we gotta do is learn how to identify the good and fruitful trees from the trees that lead us into destruction, right? And what you gotta understand, the way you identify that is by the way you identify the trees that are yielding good fruit from the trees that are yielding bad fruit and yielding destruction and death is by comparing what these so-called leaders are saying, comparing what they're saying to what the Most High is saying, and what the Most High has always told his priests and prophets to say. That's how you find out. And we're going to get into these scriptures and find out exactly what these priests and prophets were actually saying, right? Versus what your Christian pastor and what your imams are saying, right? Let me get John chapter 8 verse 44 about Bashir.
This is the book of John, chapter 8, verse 44. Ye are your father, the devil, and the lust of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own.
See, this is what's so heavy. This is what's so heavy. Like when you decide, when you speak the opposite of what the Most High has always taught his priests and prophets. Like Christ, I don't know if you noticed, but Christ always quoted the priests and prophets in the Old Testament. So where your Christian pastor gets, you know what I'm saying, the law is done away with, and, you know what I'm saying, the Old Testament is done away with, you know what I'm saying, I don't know where to get that from. But Christ always quoted the priests and prophets before him. He already said, as it is written. You know what I'm saying? The disciples after him the disciples after him, the priests and prophets after him, they always quoted as it is written. They always quoted what was written before them, what was taught before them. You know what I mean? Even the prophets in the Old Testament, they always quoted what was already taught. You know what I mean? They didn't get up there and teach, you know what I'm saying, something new. And because we, you know what I'm saying, we want our priests and prophets, or we want our Christian pastors and our imams and all these different sects of religion, they want, you know what I'm saying, we want them to teach us lies and prophesy deceits. Because we want them to do that, we become just like our oppressor. Because where do they get them lies from? You know what I'm saying? Where did your Christian pastor get, even though the Bible describes in several accounts that Christ was a black man, that the angels are black, that the prophets were black. Even though that's all throughout the scriptures, where do you think your Christian pastor gets that stringy-haired, blue-eyed devil portrait portrayed as Jesus on the wall? Where do you think he get that idea? And that color isn't in the Bible, because your Christian, I don't know if you know, but your Christian pastor will teach you that too. Right. They'll tell you that they'll tell you that color ain't in the Bible, right, when it's absolutely in the Bible. But where do you think your Christian pastor gets that lie? They get it from your oppressor, who is the devil the Bible speaks of. And read that from the top again, Baba Kasha. And Baba, if you want to chime in, go ahead at any time.
This is the book of John, chapter 8, verse 44. Ye are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father ye will do.
Read that again, Baba Kasha.
Ye are of your father the devil.
So we just established that your oppressor is the devil. The devil just means deceiver. Your oppressor is the number one deceiver in the earth. Right? And read that from the top again.
Ye are your father the devil.
And when we choose the lie over the truth, when we choose the deceits over the truth that may sting when we hear it, that may hurt when we hear it, but is the truth and is going to save us in the end, we're choosing to be deceived by our oppressor over, you know what I'm saying, learning the truth according to the Most High, man. And because we choose those lies, we become of our father, the devil. Your oppressor becomes your father when you choose those lies, man. When we choose those lies, when your Christian pastor teaches you those lies, they are making you just like your oppressor. When your Muslim imams teach you lies in that Muslim mosque, they are teaching you to be just like your oppressor, to oppress your brothers and your sisters, man, to leave your brothers and your sisters in marriage, man, to abuse your family, man, to rob and unalive your brothers, man. That's what they teach you, man. You become just like your unaliving, lustful, wicked oppressor who stole this land and stole you and beat you into submission so that you will serve him. They are making you just like him. So now you do that to your children and to your wife and to your husband. That's what happens when you choose the lies over the truth. Right. Go ahead, read on.
The lust of your father ye will do.
And once you become just like your oppressor, the only thing left to do is do his lust. You know what I mean? To do his bidding. Right. So your oppressor seeks to oppress you, right? And how do they do it, right? You know what I mean? They don't do it anymore through, you know what I mean, physical chains, right? They don't do it through, you know what I mean, public lynchings like it was so popular. Even though they do, they murder us. Of course, don't get me wrong. They do absolutely murder us in the streets, and murder us at McDonald's, and murder us at Taco Bell, and murder us, you know what I mean, in Christian church, where we trying to find some sort of truth, even though it's full of lies up in there. But we, you know what I'm saying, I'm sure there's some decent folks still up in there, right, who need to come up out of there and come up into the ISUBK and become a new creature. But, you know what I mean, our oppressor is still murdering us in the streets, right? But if you don't have the courage to tell and warn your brothers and sisters that they are the, you know what I'm saying, to expose your oppressor of their crimes, then you're going to push their agenda. You're going to teach you know what I'm saying? You're going to teach your sons and your daughters that God loves everybody. That and you know what your sons and daughters are gonna do because of oppression, because they're poor, because they've been abused. They're gonna choose. They're gonna choose to make marriages and have sons and daughters by your oppressor. That's what's gonna happen. Because your child is poor and you grew up poor, because you know what I mean, because of your oppressor. If you don't teach your child who your oppressor is, they're gonna become just like your oppressor. How? Because food is too expensive, because transportation is too expensive to your child, because housing is too expensive for your child, because higher education is too expensive for your child, so on and so forth. They're gonna choose a life of crime. They're gonna steal what they can afford, because we don't teach our children who your oppressor is, right, and why, you know what I mean, we can't afford basic necessities in the first place. Right. So once we don't choose the Most High, once we don't choose to separate from our oppressor and identify your oppressor as the oppressor that he is, then we're going to choose his ways. Is there any more on that?
He was a murderer from the beginning. In a bold, not in the truth.
Nah, but they teaching in school that slavery benefited blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. What did that say? Read that again.
He was not. He was a murderer from the beginning.
Nah, but we went into slavery willingly. We came over in slavery and we wanted to work for our oppressor. What did that say?
He was a murderer from the beginning.
The scriptures say he was a murderer from the beginning. Go ahead, read on.
In a bold, not in the truth. Because there is no truth in him.
And there is no truth in him. You know what I'm saying? The scripture says that your oppressor is a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth.
Right.
And if you don't teach your children that, if you don't teach your children the truth, according to the Bible, that's what your oppressor is, then your oppressor is going to continue to have free range to oppress blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. And you know what he's going to use to oppress us? He's going to use us. He's going to use our people to oppress us. He's going to put our coon brothers and sisters in office, or he's going to put some dark skinned he's going to put some Hamite in office who looks like us, like they did with Obama, who's not a black man, but he is a African. They're going to put somebody who they think looks like us in the office to sell us some sort of false dream. They're going to put Martin Luther King in, they're going to allow Martin Luther King to have a platform to teach us to love our oppressor, when the Most High always taught us to separate. Right. That's what's going to happen when you don't know who is of the Lord and who is not. Who is showing you real brotherhood by teaching you the truth according to the Bible, and who is teaching you lies and prophesying deceits. Right. Prophets, any priest, anybody who claims to be a representative of the Lord, who teaches you lies and deceits because you want to hear it, that is not brotherhood, man. Right. That is absolutely not brotherhood. For a quick penny. And these so-called leaders, black leaders, they realize it once it's too late. Like, did not Martin Luther King realize that he was leading his people into a burning house after he had spent so many years teaching blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans that they need to love their oppressor and not fight back against their oppressor and integrate with their oppressor? Did he not say before he died that he was leading his people into a burning house? So he knew that he was prophesying deceits and prophesying lies with his dreams, with his speeches. He knew that. And now what do we got? You know what I'm saying? Now we got our brothers and sisters. You know what I'm saying? We got interracial marriage is going through the roof. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? In Texas, man, like I hardly see, anywhere I go, I hardly see a black, you know what I'm saying, a black couple, a Hispanic couple, or Native American couple together. It's always some black, Hispanic, and Native American brother with some oppressor, with some devil, who don't know what it's like to have your children in cages, or have your culture ripped from you. Or I see some sister with some devil, you know what I'm saying, giving them children, giving them more devil children and oppressors, you know what I'm saying, to fuel their, you know what I'm saying, to fuel their lineage. That's all I see, man. Because your oppressor, nobody taught you that your oppressor is the devil, the number one deceiver in the earth. But the Bible does. The Bible absolutely does, man. We're going to continue to get it. Is there any more on that?
Yes, Mr. Moore. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own. For he is a liar and a father of it.
Your oppressor is the father of the lies, man. And that's where we learn it from. That's why it's so important for us to separate. But you won't hear your Christian pastor telling you to separate. But we're reading it out of the Bible. We're reading it out of the Bible. How your oppressor, or how the Most High feels about your oppressor. How Christ felt about your oppressor. Right? You reading it right out of the Bible. But even though this is in the Bible, that your oppressor is the devil the Bible speaks of, and that when we follow our oppressor, we become just like our oppressor, we're reading that right out of the Bible. But even though it says that in the Bible, your Christian pastor who claims to teach the Bible won't teach you that. So but the priests and prophets in the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge will risk it all teaching you that. We'll go to jail behind teaching you the truth according to your culture and identity, black man, Hispanic man, and Native American man. We will, like Martin Luther King, he went to jail behind, you know what I'm saying, teaching you how to love your oppressor's women. He went to jail for the sake of sleeping with oppressor's women. Nasty Nate in the IUIC, he's going to risk it all for the sake of sleeping with these foreign nations' women, these Africans who we are not, to the point where he's gonna, you know what I'm saying, the loss of our sister's life in that organization is worth it, so that our brothers and sisters can continue to sleep with our oppressors, man. He's gonna sweep our sister Joy Morgan losing her life. He's gonna sweep that under the rug, or better yet, blame it on Isupk. He's gonna blame it on us, even though that was under his authority and under his under his supervision, that sister lost her life. That's how you can tell between somebody who teaches you the truth and somebody who's gonna teach you lies, man. Right. We gotta actually look into these scriptures and see what the Bible says and what the Bible doesn't say. What the priests and prophets actually taught, and what the priests and prophets were taught, what Christ taught, and compare it to what your Christian pastor is saying, what these Christian Israelite groups are saying. And that's how you find the truth. Right. That's how you find it. Right. Oh yeah. Slacky, let me get Ezekiel chapter 33 real quick. Because your Christian pastor, your Christian pastors and all these different religions, even, you know what I'm saying, Kemet and Buddha, like all these different religions, they won't teach you, they'll teach you, you know what I'm saying, they'll teach you everything but to separate from your oppressor. Like, the first time I heard that the oppressor was the devil the Bible speaks of, and that we should separate from them, and God doesn't love everybody, the first time I heard that was in the ISUPK. Under Commanding General Yohana. That was the first time I heard that. And, you know what I'm saying? And I know brothers bounce from Christianity to being a Muslim, to being a Buddhist, to being Hindu, to being Egyptologist, to being spiritual. And through all those different religions and spiritualities and all of that, whatever you want to call it, I guarantee nobody has told you that your oppressor is the devil. But that's what it says in the Bible. That your oppressor is the devil the Bible speaks of. Right. And when we follow after our oppressor, we become just like our oppressor. Go ahead, read that. Start from the top.
This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 33, verse 1. And again, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, speak to the children of thy people, and say unto them, when I bring the sword upon a land.
Well, Salakia. So this is a prophet again, right? That the Most High is telling he's speaking through this prophet. He's saying, say this. Tell the people this. Speak to your people this. Read verse 2 from the top again, Baba Shah.
Son of man, speak to the children of thy people.
So this is what the Most High is telling this prophet Ezekiel to do. Go ahead, read on.
And say unto them, when I bring forth the sword upon a land, if the people of the land take a man of their coast and set him for their watchman.
So this is a stipulation. So he's saying, the Most High is saying, when I bring a sword upon the land, meaning when he brings his punishment for us breaking these laws, statutes, and commandments, when he does that, when he punishes blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans for breaking his laws, statutes, and commandments, if the people take a man of their coast and set them for their watchmen, meaning if you take somebody like T.D. Snakes or Creflo Dollar or you know what I'm saying, Martin Luther King, you take anybody who you consider a leader in your, you know what I'm saying, for blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. If you set yourself a leader, or if you choose somebody to be a leader over you and be your watchman, go ahead, read on verse 3.
Verse 3. If when he seeth the sword come upon the land and blow the trumpet and warn the people, then whosoever hear the sound of the trumpet and take it not warning, if the sword come and take him away, his blood shall be upon his own head.
See, when you set somebody over you to be a watchman over you, to be a spiritual, somebody to guide you as a people, when they warn you and you don't take heed of the warning, just like Commander General Yohana has always taught us to do for blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, when you hear that warning but you don't take heed, then that blood is on your hands. When that punishment comes, then that's on your hands. Go ahead, read on.
Verse 5. He heard the sound of the trumpet and took not warning.
See, that's what a priest and prophet is supposed to do. That's what somebody who the Lord is actually with is supposed to do. If somebody claims to represent the Most High, he's supposed to be a shepherd or a watchman over blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. And if he does that job effectively and you still refuse to listen to that message, like Commander General Yohana has done so effectively, if you refuse to hear that message, when we say separate from your oppressor, stop eating pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster. Our sisters stop being whores. Our brothers stop being whoremongers. Our brothers and sisters need to stay together and build black, Hispanic, and Native Americans' families. When we say those things and our people don't heed that warning, then that blood is on your hands. Go ahead, read on.
His blood should be upon him, but he that taketh warning shall deliver his soul.
But he that take warning, he that actually hears his message and understands, or actually hears what we saying, and actually understands that what we saying is true, then that brother, that sister will deliver their souls.
Right.
Go ahead, read on.
But if the watchman see the sword come and blow not the trumpet.
So now this is the problem, though. This is the problem. See, the watchmen that we're choosing to be watchmen over us, to represent us, right? Like we choose, we choosing people, you know what I'm saying, who are not even of our nation, right? But the people, you know what I'm saying, who are black, Hispanic, and Native American, who claim to, you know what I'm saying, be representatives of the Most High, like your T.D. Jakes, your you know what I'm saying, your imams, you know what I'm saying, who are black, Hispanic, and Native American brothers flood into being a Muslim, you know what I mean, your Christian pastors who claim to be leaders and claim to represent the Most High. right? Your Christian Israelite groups like IUIC, where nasty bishop, what's his name? Detective Nathaniel Ray, you know what I'm saying, claims to be a representative of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans when he's really just a filthy undercover cop.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Badge number 2299. You know what I'm saying? You could look up and find out what I'm saying, if what we saying is true or not. But that's a filthy undercover cop who aims to arrest blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, especially the priests and prophets, the real priests and prophets of the Lord.
Right.
But we choose, instead of choosing a real priest and prophets, we choose half a LGBTQ member, Nasty Nate, to try to represent us. Man, we flood their groups, right? We flood the Christian churches, man. We flood the Christian churches, right? So when they claim to be leaders over blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Now, if they claim to be leaders of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, but they don't warn you about the dangers that befall blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, when they don't warn you about your oppressor, when they don't warn you about what could possibly happen when you don't follow these laws, statutes, and commandments, when you sleep with these strange women, you know what I'm saying? Nah, they don't tell you not to sleep with strange women. They lead you to these strange women. You know what I'm saying? They building camps in Africa and in India around these strange nations, you know what I mean?
Right.
Claiming they looking for our people, right? But they putting you right dead around these people, man, around these strange nations, so that you can do all sorts of abominable things in these nations, man.
Right.
That's what they do, and they claim to be watchmen of you, but watchmen over you. But let's see what happens to these watchmen, or what the responsibility of these watchmen are. Go ahead, read on.
And blow not the trumpet, and the people be not warned, if the sword come and take any person from among them, he is taken away in his iniquity.
So when your brothers and sisters, when blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans go into the Christian church, and you following after these Christian pastors who don't teach you the truth according to the Bible, but they prophesy to you these sweet things, these smooth things, and prophesy deceits, right? You go up in there, and then because you angering the Most High, you know what I'm saying, you get unalived in your iniquity. What happens? Go ahead, read on.
But his blood will I require at the watchman's hands.
That blood, where, you know what I'm saying, Joy Morgan is being killed in this Christian police operation called the IUIC. When that sister is being unalived in that organization, that blood is going to be required at Detective Nathaniel Ray's hands, man. That's what's going to happen, man. When your Christian pastor is going to teach you that, you know what I'm saying, there's no color in the Bible, and they're going to teach you that Christ ain't got no color, and color don't matter, and God loves everybody, and we got to integrate, just like Martin Luther King said, right? The Most High is going to require that blood at their hand, because they claim to be leaders, man. Right. They claim to take an oath that they were not prepared to keep, that they were not prepared to hold up. And that's the problem, man. And that's how you identify the truth from the lie, man. Because we just read in the Bible. That's all we're doing. We're just reading the Bible, man. And that's how you tell a good tree from a wicked tree, man.
Right.
By the fruit that it produces. Go ahead, Priest. You got something you want to bring up?
Yeah. If I could, like what you're saying so heavy, this whole time, this tonight, you know what I mean? Because we don't have nobody to protect us. You know, these black leaders, these so-called black leaders, right? They want to protect us. They hand us over to the wolves, man. You know, they hand us over to the beasts of the field. Who's the beasts of the field? I'm talking about the other nations. These other nations come to us and use us up because our protection is not, they're not protecting us. The scripture says that our gates with language. I mean, we have no protection, no gates to protect black, Hispanic, and American. That's the reason why we think we can go out here and be like these other people. We go out here and sleep with a woman. We go out here and celebrate their holidays. You know what I'm saying? Because our black leaders, our watchmen, are not teaching us anything. The only thing they're teaching us is how to be good slaves. Mm-hmm. That's it.
Right.
They're not teaching how to be nothing else but good slaves. So we sit there, we go to these churches, we so faithful in these churches because we think we're getting the spiritual guidance that we need, but we're not. We're not getting it. You know what I'm saying? That's why so much leave the church to go to be a Muslim. You know what I'm saying? To be all these other religions that don't make no sense. We got no dealing with that. But like you saying so heavy, priest, we don't have no protection here, man.
Right. Now, real talk, get out of hand. And that's how you know. That's how you know who the real priests and prophets are and who they're not. Because what's the number one religion that dominates the earth today? Over 70-something% of the world is dominated by Christianity. And after that is Muslim and Egyptology and then so on and so forth. Right? Now you would think by majority of the earth being dominated by Christianity that the Most High would be with these, you know what I'm saying, these so-called leaders, these self-appointed leaders who claim to represent the Most High. Well, if we got so many of these representatives of the Most High, right, and they teaching you the truth, you would think that there will be far less death and famine and slack you. So much unaliving and famine and crime and abuse going on in the world, let alone in the Christian church. Right. Like the world is dominated by Christianity, and majority of the sexual abuse happens in church. You would think that if the Lord was with these people and that they were the true leaders and the watchmen that they claim to be, then that wouldn't happen in your Christian church. Most of the abuse and the unaliving and the robberies and all those things, most of that happens in a Christian household.
Right.
You would think that because, you know what I'm saying, your mother, your father, your grandmother, your grandfather forces you into that Christian church so that you can clap your hands and stomp your feet and sing and dance and shout and all of that foolishness. They push you up in there. You would think that, you know what I'm saying, that we are well protected, but the reality is that we're not, because your Christian church is a lie, and they're full of liars and deceivers. Right. and unalivers and abusers. That's what they're full of, man. And the sooner we realize that, the sooner we can get out of that Christian church, out of these Muslim mosques, out of these other religions, and find out where the real protection is. And the real protection is here in the ISUPK, man. That's right. That's where it is. That's exactly where it is, man. You can tell the tree, the tree by its fruits, man. Like how many more, you know what I'm saying, cases of abuse and theft and robbery and unaliving do we got to see in the Christian church before we find out that they are not the truth? Right. How many more people have to be unalived in the IUIC before we find out that Detective Nathaniel Ray is an undercover cop who only wants to arrest innocent Black, Hispanics, and Native Americans and allow us to be unalived by their heathens that they allow in that group? When the Most High told us to separate from these heathens, way back in Deuteronomy, he told us to be separate from them. How many more do we got to see die? How many more do we got to see, you know what I'm saying, suffer at the hands of these watchmen who weren't real watchmen before we find out that they're not watchmen? You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? How many times do we got to see our these Christian representatives of Christianity? How many times do we got to see these men emasculate themselves, man? Like, I saw, you know what I'm saying, the other day, you know what I'm saying, your Catholic, you know what I'm saying, this in the Catholic church, this man had on a full Catholic garment, you know what I'm saying, with the little choker and everything, right? This man over here twerking and doing all sorts of embarrassing, abominable things, man. I wish I wish I could put it on the screen. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to spare brothers and sisters because I really did. I wish I didn't see that. You know what I'm saying? That's the last thing I want to see is some old devil, you know what I'm saying, gyrating like a female in the name of the Most High. You know what I'm saying? But how many times do we got to see that? How many times do we got to see the Catholic Church representatives, you know what I'm saying, twerking and gyrating like women before we decide that maybe they not the representatives of the Most High? How many times do we got to see T.D. Jakes deep throat a microphone? How many times do we got to see Tyler Perry put on a dress? How many times do we got to see our Christian pastors twerk and gyrate and emasculate themselves before we realize that that's not the spirit of the Most High? Because the scriptures say that the Most High is a man of war. In Exodus chapter 3, verse 15.
Right.
That's what the scriptures say the spirit of the Most High is. They ain't say the Most High is a man of entertainment, or the Most High is a man of lust, of sexual entertainment. That's not what the scripture said.
Right.
The scripture said the Most High is a man of war. So why are the men who claim to represent the Most High behaving like women? You know what I mean? How many times do we got to see that before we realize that the truth ain't in Christianity? And how many times do we have to reject the men of the real priests and prophets and the men of the Lord who are masculine and upright and stand strong on the truth of the Most High? Right? How many times do we got to reject them before we realize that the truth is right here? Let me get Ezekiel chapter 35. Because the Most High is like we just said, the Most High is a man of war. And who is he at war against, man? He is, you know what I'm saying, the Most High has always been for blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. And he is at war, and he has taught us to be at war with anything that opposes his children, who are blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans today, who are the 12 tribes of Israel. So if he's a man of war, who is he at war with? This is what a true priest and prophet will tell you. I know this might be uncomfortable to hear, but this is what a true priest and prophet will tell you. Go ahead and read that from the top.
This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 35, verse 1. Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir, Mount Seir, and prophesy against it. And say unto it.
This is exactly what Salakia. This is exactly what the priests and prophets were trained to do. This is exactly what we do out on them street corners. Where you see us on the street corners and you think that we acting a fool. You know what I'm saying? And don't confuse us with them half LGBTQ members who wear purple. Don't confuse us with them. But them brothers who stand out on that street corner and actually teach blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans the truth according to the Bible about their true culture and identity, and who expose the crimes of your oppressor when all these other so-called leaders refuse to expose the crimes. That's what those are your true priests and prophets. Your true priests and prophets were taught to prophesy against this kingdom, man.
Right.
Go ahead, read on.
Thus said the Lord God, Behold, O Mount Seir, I'm against thee, and I will stretch out my hand against thee.
Yeah, this is talking about the inhabitants of your oppressor, right? Your so-called, your oppressor, you know what I'm saying? Those pale faces that you see, you know what I mean, filling your communities and filling the seats of the government, right? The filling the police force with their knee on your back, teaching your brothers to hate one another, teaching your sisters to hate one another, teaching husbands to leave their wives and wives to leave their husbands. That is Mount Seir. You know what I'm saying? Your oppressor, who is the devil the Bible speaks of.
Right.
Go ahead, read on.
And I will make thee most desolate.
This is what the Most High's plan is for your oppressor, who continues to abuse blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. This is his plan for your oppressor. Go ahead, read on.
Verse 4, I will lay thy city waste.
He will do what?
I will lay thy city waste.
Nah, he's going to integrate everybody. He's going to integrate black people and white people. What is he going to do?
I will lay thy cities waste.
Nah, he wants you to have babies with them. and grow their cities. What do you say?
I will lay thy cities waste.
Now he wants blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans to join their government systems to become senators and governors and mayors and the president of the United States. What does that say?
I will lay thy city waste.
With him, he's saying that he's going to lay these cities waste. And if he's going to lay your oppressor cities waste, then if you were to join their government systems, man, if you were to become their president and their mayor and their senator and their governor and their police officers and their representatives, then you would be laid waste with them, man. Because his intention for these people who abused and unalived blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, his intention for them is to lay their cities waste. Like we just read out of the Bible. We're in Ezekiel chapter 35, man. And in verse 4, it says what? Read it from the top, Baba Kashan.
I will lay thy city waste.
This is the Most High saying, I will lay thy cities waste. The Most High, who you think loves everybody, is going to lay your oppressor's cities waste.
Right.
What does that mean? When you lay something, when you lay a city waste, it means you're going to completely destroy it. You're going to destroy its buildings. You're going to destroy its people. You're going to destroy its government. You're going to destroy everything that puts that city in power. You're going to destroy it. Just like he did Rome, just like he did Greece, just like he did Egypt, just like he did Assyria, just like he did all these other nations that came before modern day America, right? He's going to do that same thing to America, man. Just like he did to all these other nations that preceded America. That's what it says in the Bible, man. It didn't say nothing about integration, man. It doesn't say nothing about integration and loving everybody and trying to be all one people and, you know what I'm saying, times are changing and that was back then and this is now. It don't say nothing about that. But your priests and prophets, your so-called leaders, your so-called Martin Luther King and your Creflo Dollars and your T.D. Jakes and your Christian pastors and your Muslim imams, they're not going to tell you this. They're not going to tell you this, just like these priests and prophets in the ISUPK have already been telling you since 1969, where we've been battling since 1969 all these lies that have been burying blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. They're not going to teach you this with courage and stand on it and know that it's a fact that the Most High only loves blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans and hates these other nations and wants to lay them waste. Read that again from verse 4. Just so we know that I'm not making this up from the top of my head. We're reading the Bible. Go ahead, read that.
I will lay thy city waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord.
Now, is the Most High being, you know what I'm saying, is the Most High evil? You know what I'm saying? Is the Bible evil because the Most High is saying he's going to lay these people waste? Why is he going to destroy our oppressor who is the devil the Bible speaks of? Right? And this is something, because we're reading out of the Bible. I just want to remind everybody, we're reading out of the Bible. But your Christian pastor who claims to teach out of the Bible will never teach you this. Right. Why is it saying this? Why is the Most High going to lay these cities waste and destroy these people? Go ahead, read verse 5.
Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred.
They have had what?
A perpetual hatred. So
this is why the Most High wants to destroy these other nations, especially your oppressor who is the devil the Bible speaks of. Right. The leaders of America, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to be very artful in the way I say things so we don't get flagged on social media. But this is why the Most High wants to destroy your oppressor. Because read that again, verse 5.
Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity.
So in a time where we were down, you know what I'm saying, where we begging for food stamps, bro. Like we out here trying to fight for food stamps. We trying to fight for WIC. We trying to fight for government assistance. We trying to fight for what's that housing? Section 8. We trying to fight for Section 8. We trying to fight for just the right. For the last couple years, we've been fighting for our lives to just matter. Just Black lives matter. Not are better. We didn't say Black lives are better. Right. We didn't say Black lives are equal. We said Black lives matter. And we call all types of hell for that. You know what I mean? We got all these different things. Well, all lives matter. We say Black lives matter. You know what I mean? And they say all lives matter. They got to counter it with some garbage like that. When it's not when it's evident that every life other than Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans matter. In a time where we're in cages on the border, where we're sleeping on cardboard on a border with nothing to eat, nothing to change our children with, nothing to bathe ourselves with, when our Haitian brothers are on the border with nothing to feed themselves with, when our Venezuelan brothers and sisters are trying to swim over here and getting whipped and beat and drowned in the river, you know what I mean? In that time where we're being abused and unalived and kidnapped and trafficked and put in jails and alarming rates, we're just saying our lives matter. Our lives matter. And they saying, oh, all lives matter. Or, you know what I'm saying, the police, better yet, the police are killing Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans at alarming rates. And because of that, we're saying Black lives matter, meaning our lives should mean something to where we should receive some mercy. You know what I'm saying? Right, wrong, or indifferent, man. If the police feel the need to arrest us wrongly or rightfully, we should at least have the right to a proper trial, to at least make it to jail. Right. But in a time where we're not even making it to jail, where we're suffocating on the streets for 9 minutes, where we're being shot in our homes by civilians or by police officers, where we're being unalived in the streets by civilians and they're getting away with it, where we're being unalived in churches by civilians and they're damn near getting away with it, we're saying our lives matter. And what do they do to counter it? They say, well, blue lives matter. Police lives matter. The lives who are taking Black lives matter. That's how much your oppressor. Read that again from verse 5.
Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred.
That's what a perpetual hatred looks like. Right. And that's why the Most High, like it says in Ezekiel chapter 35, you can read it from the top. That's why the Most High is saying that he's going to destroy these people. And he's going to lay these people's cities waste. That's why he's saying that. If you don't believe me, you can read it. You can read it. And tell me if I'm lying to you. Tell me if Commanding General Yohana has been lying to you all these years. Read Ezekiel 35 and tell me if Commanding General Yohana has been lying to you for all these years. I challenge you to do it. But that's the difference between somebody who shows you real live brotherhood and tells you who your enemy is and tell you who is a danger and a threat to you, and somebody who just wants to tell you deceits and sweet things and smooth things and prophesy deceits to you, man. Right. Because the Most High in the scriptures over and over says that he wants to lay these cities waste. Go ahead, read on, Baba Kasha.
And has shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword, and the time of their calamity, and in the times in the time that their iniquity had ended.
So in the time where we wanted to turn back to the Most High, where our iniquity had ended, we was like, look, we tired of serving our oppressor, man. We see that this ain't working, man. We see what Martin Luther King did was not working. We see what what's his name? Malcolm X did wasn't working. What the Black Panthers did, who were backed by communists, who were backed by the Russians, what they did wasn't working. We see what the Christian church is doing isn't working. We see that joining their military, joining their police force isn't working. And we're going to turn back to the Most High. So in that time, they're still wanting to unalive us and abuse us. That just shows you the type of oppressor that you serve, man. That shows you that your oppressor is, in fact, the devil the Bible speaks of. And when we say that on those street corners, man, and when we warn our people, we try to blow the trumpet and teach our people that your oppressor is the devil the Bible speaks of, we are not wrong for saying that. Because they show us that they're the devil the Bible speaks of. They show us. They just give us giving us the ammo. All we do is repeat. They do something, you know what I'm saying? They go out into the streets and they wrongfully arrest a brother, or they abuse a brother or a sister, or they murder, you know what I'm saying? They do us wrong, and we just bring light to it. We bring it out in class. And we say this is what they did, and we should separate from them. We should come together as one people because they don't love us, and only we can love one another. That's what we do. But they do, they provide the hate on their own. Salakia, are there any more on that? Let me get verse 6 or Salakia. Let me get Revelation chapter 13 real quick. Verse 10. This is coming straight out the Bible. And if you're following along in class, let's go to Revelation chapter 13 verse 10 and let's see who's a liar. Let's see who's a liar. Let's see if these priests and prophets, you know what I'm saying, under Commander General Yohana are, you know what I'm saying, we just crazy. You know what I mean? We just full of hate, right? We just full of hate. Let's roll with that. Let's see what the Most High has to say.
This is the book of Revelation, chapter 13, verse 10. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity.
Now we know blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans have spent hundreds of years in captivity in America. Read that again.
He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity.
Now we know that the transatlantic slave trade was not a transatlantic or it wasn't a transatlantic migration. It was a slave trade. And now they're trying to teach children in school that we benefited from slavery and that it was a transatlantic migration, that we came over here voluntarily. But I know my black, Hispanic, and Native American brothers and sisters know that to be true. Just like we know that it's true that your oppressor, you know what I mean, came over here and stole this land from the indigenous Native Americans over here. We know that. Just like they stole Mexico from the so-called Hispanics of today. Just like they stole Texas and what is it? Salakia. Nevada, Salakia. And California, they stole the whole western part of the central and western part of America from the Native Americans and the so-called Hispanics of today. Right? We know that to be true. Just like they brought us over here on cargo slave trips. Right? So it says, what does it say? Read that from the top again.
He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity.
See, this is talking about captivity. Right? So who is blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans had in captivity? Who have we led into captivity? Who have we led? What nation of people has blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans led into captivity? Right? And I'm not talking about who is taking on the persona of their oppressor, right? Individually, right? And you know what I mean? Like who and may have mistreated another brother or sister. I'm not talking about no small crime like that. I'm talking about what nation of people has led another nation of people into captivity. Because the only way we will be able to have free range to mistreat one another is if we were already in an impoverished situation. So I'm not talking about that. So pre-captivity, what nation of people has led another nation of people into captivity? If you say any other nation of people other than your oppressor who runs America, if you say any other nation of people than that, you know what I mean? Then I know that you're a slave. If you say black, Hispanics, and Native Americans, I know you're a slave, man. Because how do you overlook your oppressor and try to accuse blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans of those crimes without accusing your oppressor first? Because they were the first oppressors, man. They were the fugitives. They were the first murderers. They were the first unalivers. So we know that blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans were led into captivity. What does it say about somebody who leads into captivity? Read that from the top, Baba Kashah.
He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity.
This is the Bible. I'm not saying this off the top of, I'm not just making this up off the top of my head. We read in Revelation chapter 13, verse 10. It says, he that leadeth into the captivity shall go into captivity. Go ahead, read on.
He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword.
Now it says, he that killeth with the sword may be killed with the sword.
Must be killed with the sword.
Nah, might be killed with the sword.
Must be killed with the sword.
Nah, only if, you know what I'm saying, we feel like it. If we feel like our oppressor is, you know what I'm saying? What if we forgive our oppressors and we want to sing Kumbaya? What does that say?
Must be killed with the sword.
Your oppressor must be killed by the sword. Because he killed so many of our blacks, Hispanics, and Native American brothers with the sword, right? He didn't oppress so many of us. He has to go into captivity. He has to be unalive with the sword. Go ahead, read on.
Here is the patience and the faith of the saints.
This is the patience and the faith of the saints. Now, if your Christian pastor was such a saint like he says he is, if your Catholic priest was a saint just like he said he is, if he's a so-called leader of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, if your Muslim imams were so-called chosen, if they were so-called leaders of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, this is what they will put their faith and patience in. This is what the scriptures say. This is the patience and the faith of the saints.
Right.
But they won't tell you that. They won't give you justice. See, the priests and prophets of the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge are messengers of justice. We read out of the scriptures, we read out of the Bible, and we prophesy the justice that the Most High told us that we would get from our oppressor for the crimes that they commit against blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, man. If you want to find out who are the real priests and prophets of the Most High, who are the real priests and prophets, and who teaches the truth according to the Bible, just listen to what's being said, man. Listen to what's being said and compare it to what's being written in the Bible, man. What's been written in the Bible, man. And that's how you find out. That's how you find out who the true priests and prophets are according to the Most High, man. Let me see. Salaki. And the wisest thing for any black, Hispanic, and Native American to do is to get in these ranks, man. Get in these ranks, man. Follow, you know what I'm saying? Get into the ISUPK nearest you, man, and call that number. Call whatever number you gotta call, man. Call that camp leader. Start your 90 days and shed that old. You know what I'm saying? Shed that old man, man. Shed that old woman who is in the world, man. Who has committed so many abominations, man. Who has committed so many sins against the Most High, man. Shed that old person, man, because that old person has a warrant, man. That old person has a debt to be paid with their life. And if you don't give up that old person, if you don't give up them old ways, then you're gonna have to pay that. You're gonna have to pay that debt. But we teach in the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge that in order to be, you know what I'm saying, for the sacrifice that Christ made to be relevant for you, you have to become a new person, man. You have to become a new person, man. Just like the scripture said. With that, I'm saying we're gonna go ahead and pass the class over to the priest and officer 50 Abon Zayan for the security announcements. All right, no sweat. That Imadium, which means to stand. We'll give a courteous salute to the brothers. And of Israel, Madra Shabbat, Imadium, Barak, Yahweh Shem Yahushua Barakatum, Yad Yamatai. Sorry, we're going to turn and face the sisters, give a courteous salute to the sisters. And of Israel, Madra Shabbat, Imadium, Barak, Yahweh Shem Alatam Ba Shem Yahushua, Yad Yamatai, dismissed.